So today we're going to talk about the problem of envy and how knowing yourself is the antidote. So to begin, the problem of envy. Now this is kind of multifaceted. So envy, of course, has been a problem ever since the dawn of humanity, and it will continue to be. But there's a couple things about the modern world that amplifies this. So one, of course, is social media, right? This is just something that is a part of the world, and we are continuously feeding in information through timelines that essentially are these highlight reels of envy. Okay? And we do it all in the name of entertainment. We just inject our minds. And basically, whenever you go on a social media platform, you are viewing the highlight reel of someone's life. Okay? So the achievements, their successes, whatever, are normalized in your mind. So you compare your life with those of an elevated baseline. And the gap is what breeds envy. Now, the second thing is that our social norms haven't caught up to accommodate this reality. So there's certain difficult emotions where the norms have caught up. So for example, depression, right? Like depression used to be a highly stigmatized thing. People just didn't talk about it. But now if you're feeling depressed, talk about it. It's all good, right? There's therapy for you. There's all these available tools for you. There's Calm, all whatever. Like there's all these things. So depression is an example of something that is now normalized and is easy to talk about. Another is vulnerability, or this kind of radical openness to just share what you're feeling. So Brene Brown gave this popular TED Talk on it and wrote a popular book, and now it's part of popular culture. So it's all good. Envy hasn't really found that like comfort zone yet, right? Disclosing that you struggle with envy is still pretty taboo or looked down upon. Like if I were to get on stage and say, "All right, everyone, I'm struggling with envy. I'm such an envious dude. Envy everything I see." Like, you're not going to get much sympathy. But this is a problem that gnaws away at everybody. So the fact that everyone is experiencing it kind of 10x, and at the same time you can't talk about it, so your articulation of it is 0x, causes a huge problem. Now, this issue of envy is, one I felt myself too. And there was this wonderful book I have here, Krishnamurti's Think on These Things. This was one of the most impactful books I've ever read. And if you don't know Krishnamurti, you could think of him as like a kind of quote unquote spiritual teacher who went around giving talks on conditioning and freedom from the known and all this so forth. And this book is special because it's transcriptions of his talks that he gave to younger audiences and teachers. So he really had to simplify his message and to make it less dense and make it digestible. And there is this passage from here that when I read it, it just had me intellectually shook. Like I was like, dude, I have to revisit this over and over again. And it had to do with the problem of envy. So I'm going to read that to you right here, right now, and let's kind of use this as a starting point for our discussion. Here it is, quote, "I am envious because I want to be as beautiful as you are. I want to have the fine clothes, the elegant house, the high position that you have. Being dissatisfied with what I am, I want to be like you. But if I understood my dissatisfaction and its cause, then I would not want to be like you or long for the things that you have. In other words, if once I begin to understand what I am, then I shall never compare myself with another or be envious of anyone. Envy arises because I want to change myself and become like somebody else. But if I say, whatever I am, that I want to understand, then envy is gone. Then there is no need of discipline, and out of the understanding of what I am comes integration." Boom! Like that's a banger right there. And I love that passage. I've read it many, many times. But there's one line here that I keep going back to. And the line is, whatever I am, that I want to understand. Whatever I am, that I want to understand. And this struck me because he uses the phrase, whatever I am. Like implicit in that is we don't know who we are. We really don't. If you think about it, almost everything of consequence is a result of happenstance. So what I mean is the things that are so formative in you are all the result of randomness. So what are some examples? Your genetic makeup, your upbringing, the culture you were raised in. I mean, these are all things that have a huge impact on who you are. And you had zero agency over any of it. So that's what I think he means by whatever I am, right? I know I'm here and I have these experiences, but I don't quite understand that, which is captured by the word whatever I am. And then that I want to understand. So I want to cut through all the stuff that I don't know and figure out who is at the center of this. What happens when I just peel apart all those layers of conditioning and try to understand myself? And if you engage in that pursuit, basically there is no room to want what anyone else has. There is no room to look outside of yourself and envy what another person has. Because this journey of looking within yourself to look deeper in there, that will take an entire lifetime to uncover. That's what he's saying in this passage. And I love it because whenever you're chasing something external to your mind, you're always going after something more. There's always something more to desire, more to long for. Like, it reminds me of one of my favorite Joker lines from The Dark Knight, right? Classic movie. And he says something to the effect of, he's like, "Ooh, we're like dogs chasing cars. We won't know what to do if we actually catch them." Profound. When I first heard that, I was like, dang, okay, that's pretty profound. He said, we're like dogs chasing cars. We don't know what to do if we actually catch them. Right? If a dog actually catches a car, what is he going to do? Right? So we're like that too. If we catch the object or desire of our for success or so forth, what happens next? Is that it? Are we satisfied? No. We're like the dog having caught the car. There's usually just one of two things you could do. One, you keep yourself busy by chasing another car or by chasing another goal, some other objective for success. Or two, you learn that this whole chase is pointless. That's it. Now, number one, the whole thing of chasing another car and so forth, that's what psychologists refer to as the hedonic treadmill, right? You're kind of chasing these peak experiences, but you baseline out. The second, where you learn that the whole chase is pointless, that's what I call the antidote to envy. Because when you realize that the whole chase is pointless, you begin to see how society is like governed by a game. You see like these puppet strings of incentives, everyone's just kind of following these strings along, and that is what society is. And when you see that, and you know you don't want to be engaged in that, be treated like this incentive following machine, this algorithm that society runs you on, then the other option is to realize the pointlessness of it and to understand who you are within. And there's different ways to go about it. I mean, some people become ascetics, become monks, and other people just are able to be more reflective or to understand that introspection is where I need to turn to when I feel like my attention is so encumbered by the outside world. So that is a big thing, is can you commit to understanding who you are and to peel through the things that you don't know about yourself? And when you can stay there for a longer period of time, that's when you can start feeling envy dissolve. Because when envy is at its zenith, when you feel it pulling on you the most, what that means is that you're not making an effort to understand yourself. You're basically looking outside to validate who you are. And as long as that's the case, there's always going to be someone to envy, some accomplishment that makes you feel inadequate, and so forth. So, a couple practical ways you could do this. I mean, one is through a daily journaling practice. So that's one thing that I do every single day. And really the whole point of it is just to figure out who I am better, right? I'll just talk about certain emotions I have and understand why I'm feeling these things. And that's such a crucial thing, to ask yourself why. Why do I feel this way? And when you get to the bottom of that question, you could see what it's like, what the unconditioned mind is like, because that is where true freedom lives. So really, The call here for this message, this video, is that if you are feeling envious, just understand what that means. It's not because you truly envy another, it's because you're not taking the requisite time to understand yourself. And if you make self-understanding the primary goal of your life, then all of envy recedes. There's just no space to explore it anymore. That's why I say that envy is inversely correlated with self-examination. The less you know yourself, the more you look to others to get an idea of your worth. That's how it usually goes. But the inverse is also true. The more you delve into who you are, the less you'll seek from others, and that's when the dissolution of envy begins.